Didn't do it. Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome indeed, yes, to a Tuesday edition of the Mark Moses Show podcast. As we're broadcasting live always from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Take back control of your life. Call them today, 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. And I've been waiting to talk to this guy all day. He is my great friend, Alan Zlotorzynski with Brevard Sports Network. We got to talk some high school football. Week 1 of the regular season is here. We've been waiting since, let's see,
December.
December. I was going to say February, March, April. Man, oh, man. He is ready for this. Alan Zlotorzynski, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great, Mark. Thanks for having me. Love my Tuesdays.
How many years, we'll start with this, have you been calling play-by-play games here on the Space Coast?
This will be, 2025? This will be my 11th year.
Oh, congratulations on that, buddy. That's awesome. That
Thank
really
you.
is. Yeah, so you guys did the Kickoff Classics last Friday night, and there are a lot of surprising stats I wrote down here, and you wrote a great recap. In case you missed it, it's on his Brevard Sports Network Facebook page. Let's start with the Rockledge Raiders.
Yeah.
The Rock, man. I know. Okay, I get it. It's preseason. But them beating Heritage, was that an upset in your eyes starting there?
No. And I say no because Heritage lost a lot this year. Basically, there are years, Mark, of the transfer cycle where it's a dog-eat-dog world, and sometimes your program benefits and sometimes it doesn't. Basically, for Heritage this year, it was talent out, talent in. And so, you go back to a couple of years ago, and we were talking about 20 transfers into Heritage, right? So it was pretty much a wash for them in terms of transfers in, transfers out this year. They got a new quarterback. Joseph Padala, great kid, good quarterback, played a terrific second half. But both of these teams are kind of on par with where they are in the process. Heritage has got some older guys, and they're trying to put some pieces together. And Rockledge is a young football team, but they've got some of the best young talent on the Space Coast, Mark. I mean, when you look at their quarterback, JoJo Watkins, Eli Mitchell. I've watched Eli Mitchell. I've watched this young man play youth football for years. He is as good as they come. He had a 100-yard kick return for a touchdown. He had a 70-yard touchdown catch in the game. They got Matthew Ford. I mean, you look at Rockledge and they're young. You look at Heritage, they got a lot of veteran pieces, the John Whites, the Nathaniel Owenses, the Padalas of the world. But they too are trying to find that chemistry that you so often are in search of at the beginning of the season. What we saw here was Rockledge played about as good a first half as you could play. Heritage played about as bad a first half as you could play. I don't know what happened in the locker rooms for these two teams, but when they came out, it was the opposite.
Yeah.
And Heritage scored, 20 unanswered points in the second half. And then on the final drive of the game, the young sophomore quarterback, he showed his brilliance once again, managing the clock, ran out of bounds with 2 seconds to left, and Michael Arbor kicked a 33-yard field goal to win the game. This was a really good football game. What I took from this was the fact that they're going to have, obviously to win, you're going to have to play 4 quarters of football. These two teams play the first and third toughest schedules in the county this year. Coco's second, O'Galley's fourth. If they play a half of football, the bad half, against some of the teams on their schedules, they could find themselves on the end of a running clock. If they play 4 quarters of football like they did the good football in this game, they're going to win some games this year they probably shouldn't. But either way, both teams need to figure it out and play 4 quarters of football. Great football game. Great football game. Ended on a last-second field goal, but that's the breakdown of the teams.
Is this a big momentum, though, for Rockledge? Hey, we're going to compete this year. And because you wrote this, all right, I'm going to put you on the spot. You wrote, hey, maybe the barbecue bowl. Hey, maybe we got something here. Well, I'm paraphrasing.
Well, I think what I wrote was while the Raiders are still a ways away from maybe being a team that's going to win that football game, they could certainly make it interesting. But yeah, I think John Holmes knows that this is a young football team this team is only going to get better, and I think this was one of those weird games where momentum coming out of it, even though Heritage lost, is for both teams, because if Heritage carries the second half into Titusville this week, they could give the Terriers a real battle. And of course, Rockledge wins the football game. So there's the momentum going into the backyard brawl with Vieira this week.
Okay, wait, hold on. I got this. It's right here. Wait. It's right here. I gotta at least give love. All right. I keep that secretly because you always got the flair. I gotta give love to the Raiders. It's the least I could do. All right.
You get one, huh?
That was a good win for the Raiders. Oh, here he goes. Do you have one for us?
Of course I got one for you.
What do you got? Oh, there you go, buddy. Yeah.
Look, I don't know if you can see this, but it sits on the shelf with who?
Oh, Coco.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
You bring up a great about the idea of, all right, Heritage did not play well, and the game does not count. But that second half effort to come all the way back, and okay, I get it. You lose by a field goal, but I think that's a good sign for Heritage as well.
Oh, yeah. No, listen, that second half, they play 4 quarters of football like that, they'll give Titusville every bit the game that they're after.
Oh, you mean like this? You mean this team right here? Don't worry. Yeah. I got love for everyone. Okay? Got love. I do. Let's go to the Cocoa Tigers then. 3 times in a row state champions. And yes, Coach Schneider had to correct me because I just said, when I talked to him, I said, hey, defending state champions. He goes, whoa, Mark. 3 in a row. That's what it is.
Well, I'll begin this conversation by saying at least you got to talk to him. So let me start by saying this. I was at practice about a week, about a week before the kickoff classic.
Yeah.
And the offense didn't look good. It looked a lot out of sync. And listen, they lost damn near every offensive starter. They lost their quarterback. They lost basically all of their wide receivers. They've got a couple guys returning that are going to be, that are going to be factors. Anytime that happens, it's going to take a couple of weeks for an offense to gel. So what we saw the Cocoa Tiger. Now listen, Cocoa, outside of maybe O'Galley, may have played the toughest kickoff classic game. They hosted Bradford, who they played 2 years ago in the state championship game. Bradford is a perennial state contender, Mark. Okay. So Cocoa went right after it with a new offense. They moved the football. They had drives stall 3 times in the red zone. They kicked 3 field goals. Their defense is every bit as mean and nasty as we thought it would be. The Cocoa Tigers, Champ Smith, Troy Silverzon, that offensive line, they will find it. They will get it together. They will be an offensive juggernaut. And I'll say this, look, what happened Friday night isn't anything that I don't think anybody that knows high school football and knows how this team was built this year was surprised at what they saw. We certainly weren't. The offense is going to need time to gel, and the defense is a beast. This is a football team that They got to really put this thing together by the time they go down to Vero Beach.
Yeah, because what was the final score? Like 16-7?
16-7. Let's give Bradford some credit. That's a good football team. They're going to be, they'll likely be a Final Four team this year.
Yeah, so that's Coco. We will see. And you're absolutely right with the offense being very young there. Okay, I got 2 blowouts for you. Just looking at my notes from the Kickoff Classic. Vieira scored 52 points. Melbourne scored 49 points. Do those shock you? Both those. Well, we'll start. I'll start with Vieira. What did you think of the Hawks then?
I thought both teams did it. Listen, both teams are. Let's start with Melbourne because.
All right, we'll start there.
Yeah, let's start with Melbourne because, yes, no. First of all, it didn't shock me. Second of all, Jeff Panucci and his staff have really done a terrific job this offseason with Melbourne. They got 41 new kids in that program. They've got a lot of young kids playing. They may have one of the most dynamic players in the entire county there as a freshman in Jefferson. They got a great quarterback down there who had played a half of football, and I think he had 5 touchdowns, and a half of football. But the defense looked good. I think it's fair to consider the opponent in this situation, Pine Ridge, who is a okay football team. But with that said, does Melbourne last year or 2 years ago beat Pine Ridge 49-0? No.
No.
They might beat them 20-0. They might beat them 21-6, 21-10. But this just shows me that Melbourne's ready to compete for 7-8 win season, and they took care of business exactly as they should have with the opponent at hand.
All right, so then go to Vieira, the Hawks, who, I'm going to be honest with you, they have been down the last couple of years. When I first started talking to you, they're competing for state championships. And I go, that's a long time ago now. They have not been at the level I feel like they should be. What did you think of 52 points then from the Hawks?
It's impressive. But look, they played a Palm Bay team, Mark, that has a first-year head coach and Kevin Mays, who's come back to the Space Coast. He was the guy that was the head coach of that Vieira football team that led them to that state championship match. He's taken over a Palm Bay program, Mark, that went winless last year and is climbing back up the ladder. I will say this. You got a veteran quarterback returning in Eric Nelson for Vieira. You've got a veteran offense there, a defense that's, it's the opposite of Coco, really. You got a veteran offense and a new defense. New coordinator Charlie Washington is getting those guys in shape. But I will say this. It's impressive to see Vieira run that triple option spread that they ran. Jonah Woodruff had a great night, 142 yards receiving. Eric Nelson has a firm command of this triple option spread. I don't even know how you run that. I can't wait to see it. But they did as Melbourne did as well. They should have beaten Palm Bay. They did beat Palm Bay. And we will see as both teams this week have or Vieira has a stiff test this week as they host Rockledge in the backyard brawl.
All right, one more real quick. You brought him up earlier. Titusville. What did you think of their performance?
Great. I can't wait to see Titusville. And the reason I can't is because, every year for the last 3 years, they've been the solid number 3 team in this county. Well, I've got people from the Titusville area telling me they're better than Coco and they will beat O'Galley. That's what I'm hearing. Okay. So I cannot wait to see them. They've got the championship pedigree in Matt Diesel. He is Titusville's favorite son. He played there, obviously graduated from there, met his wife there. His dad coached there. His dad was the mayor of Titusville. So it couldn't be any more of a perfect fit for the community and the program. They've got a very good team. They probably have one of the best trenches in the county, if not the best. They got a quarterback transfer from East River. They got the quarterback, Tank Harvey, that was playing quarterback last year, that is spread out and playing all over the field. So I cannot wait to see. That's the game I have this week. I'm going up to Titusville for Titusville and Heritage.
That is an awesome week one matchup. All right, so let's transition to that. We are the Zlotorzynski Brevard Sports Network, getting you ready for week one of the high school football season here on the Space Coast. All right, you just said it. We'll say it again. All right, so you got a big game. You have, say it one more time, what game you calling on Friday night?
I will personally be up at Titusville for Titusville and Heritage. Anthony Knockreiner will be on the call at Vieira for Rockledge at Vieira. Chase Alexander will be at Merritt Island for Cocoa and Merritt Island. And Daryl Duran and Ron Lighthall will be at Melbourne for Cocoa Beach at Melbourne.
Okay, so here's the question. the game that you are calling, we'll start there. Is it one of those things where, kind of like in college football, hey, you win, it's a big win. But if you lose this game week one and it's a highly contested 4-quarter game, is that still good on the resume if you lose this game?
If you're Heritage, I'll just be honest. If you're Titusville, based on expectations and what I'm hearing, should win this game by 10 points. So if you don't win this football game or you slip up in this football game, then I think you have to take a step back. And that's no disrespect to Heritage. But again, the things that I'm hearing about Titusville are that they are in the upper echelon of this county. They should be talked about with the Cocos and O'Galleys. And if that is the case, then they should win this football game at home.
All right, you gave me your preseason top 7. You did this before the year. I'm going to put you on the spot. Okay, so I think you just said your top 3 where you're not going to say the order yet. Your top 3, you have Titusville, O'Galley, and Cocoa, but how do you rank them 1 to 3, buddy, going into the year?
O'Galley 1, Cocoa 2, and I'll go Titusville 3. Listen, beyond that, I don't know yet.
And that's okay.
I would say you're going to have to Merritt Island took one on the chin. I'm going to have to see how they respond against Cocoa. But I'm going to say you're going to have to throw Melbourne, Vieira, Rockledge into that top 7 right now. But I certainly think they belong there.
Why are you taking O'Galley at number 1 to start the year then?
I just like how they started the season against, Plantation, a top 100 team in the state. Last year, O'Galley played in the Kickoff Classic, and they lost to Mainland 11-3. They didn't score a touchdown. Their offense was stuck in mud, and it kind of made you wonder. But it was a team that went all the way to the Final Four. Friday night, they took a team that, it's going to be a top 100 team in Florida. They beat them 38-24. Quarterback Joseph Allen passed for 357 yards. He found receivers all over the field. They got young stars and veteran stars everywhere. As long as O'Galley's defense, who they replaced 10 players on, can gel. Yeah, I right now, Jackson said, until they get beat, you have to keep Cocoa at number 1. But if I'm being fair, if I'm being a guy that's looking at these teams this year, based on everything Cocoa has done and who Cocoa is, do they deserve to be number 1? Well, yes, but if I'm looking at these two teams this year, right now, side by side, based on the film I've seen, based on how I know their players are performing, I'm going to go O'Galley 1 and Cocoa 2 to start.
And that's okay. Look, we got his official statement here on the show. He's Alan Zlotorzynski, Brevard Sports Network. And hey, if you're the Commodores and you have a quarterback throwing for 350 yards in a high school football game,
in the Kickoff Classic,
the first game of the year, pretty much, that is impressive. And all right, for our viewers, doesn't O'Galley play Cocoa in a couple weeks as well.
September 19th. And listen,
Not
we got
fun.
some really great matchups here this weekend, but we're all, I mean, that could change next week because O'Galley's going to travel down to play Vero Beach this week for a week 1 game. Vero Beach tied Miami-Norland 30-30 Friday night. Miami-Norland is a powerhouse. So this is a huge, huge week 1 test for O'Galley.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All right, what was the game you said Anthony's going to be calling here?
He's got the backyard brawl, Rockledge at Vieira.
Okay, so what do you think of this matchup, this game?
I think the team that executes for 4 quarters will win. I just think it's that simple. I think that I'll give Vieira a slight edge here because they're home. I think their offense is a little bit more veteran. Rockledge is going to have to take advantage of that young Vieira defense, but I'll give the edge to Vieira in this one.
Okay, so that's week 1. What times are kickoffs on Friday night, buddy?
Always 7:00, my friend.
Do you guys go on at 6:30? Anything like that? Pregame? You get right on at 7:00. That's what it is. Alan does a great job. I'm smoking. I'm blowing smoke up his. You know what? You do a great job. Well, you'll interact. I know it's not easy, but if you leave comments during the game, Alan will interact with you.
Especially if you piss me off.
What game did you call last Friday?
I had the Rockledge Heritage game.
That's awesome, dude. You got the best game of the weekend. So you're going up to Titusville.
Yeah.
I like what you said. They're excited for their football team. They are ready. I like this.
And listen, I've taken a vow this year.
Right.
I will always treat these student athletes with love and respect, and I will. The landscape has changed in terms of how I think we're allowed to discuss high school football now. There's a lot on the line for these kids. I will always be loving and care, but I think you'll see a more firmer but fairer approach this year to our analysis on high school football.
Do you say that because of how you could just jump ship like a transfer portal, high school level?
Yeah. Listen, I have no issues with these kids transferring schools. I don't. I have no issues with the money that can come their way, the NIL, the money that they can make in college. But I also think it's fair to be honest, not cruel. There's a difference.
I agree.
There's a difference. I think it's okay to be honest and firm, but loving and fair. And I think that's the approach you'll see me take this year.
On average, how many teams do we get to make the postseason? 8, 9,
7, 8, 9 teams. Yeah.
It feels like, and I know I'm going early here. It feels like we got some contenders this year. Like we really do.
Well, I tell you what, there are a lot of early season matchups, and there's an article I wrote a couple of weeks ago. We took all of the high school football previews we did, and we put them in one post. All of the preseason high school football articles are in one post on our page, pinned to the top. Go check out the article that I wrote about early season matchups. This Titusville Heritage is one of them. One of those early season matchups where it is the type of game that could define both team seasons. And we have a lot of those in the first 3 weeks.
And that's what's going to make it exciting. Okay, tonight though, I know. Look, school started last week. It's in full swing. You got football, but you got volleyball coming up tonight as well here on the coast.
Listen, I love football, but I'm equally as excited about. And I'm not just saying this. I've been covering volleyball now for 8 to 10 years as well. And volleyball has really got my attention. We did 14 volleyball previews this year. We really got into volleyball. We got a volleyball match tonight between the Brevard Heat, who went to the Final Four last year. That's a program where homeschool kids play. And the Brevard Heat are phenomenal. And Satellite, who over the last 2 years, Satellite has had a JV and a freshman program that has gone 56-7. And a lot of those girls that were in that pipeline have moved up. And I cannot wait to see these two teams go at it tonight.
That's
You know,
gonna be
we got a lot of great storylines too, like Angie Patrick from Merritt Island. I don't care what sport you're talking about. She is one of the best coaches, period. And she's only 20 wins away from 500 career wins. So it's going to be a great year of volleyball, too.
That's really cool. So you got volleyball, then you get ready. I know there's an MCC is going to play Thursday night on the road, like you told me before.
And that's a big game for them.
Oh,
Listen, they lost to Lake Brantley last week. That was a little bit, and it's not so much that they lost to Lake Brantley. Lake Brantley's a 7A school. The MCC's got some things to clean up, but they'll clean them up.
All right. Before I forget, I want to ask you this question. This is for our viewers who might be confused by this as we go into the season. So you have the FHSSA, all right? If I said that correctly, there's a lot of acronyms in there, a lot of letters, but we do have teams here on the coast that don't compete at that level, like a Space Coast. Can you explain this to us real quick, Al?
Absolutely. The Florida High School Athletic Association is the league in which we discuss 95% of the time. Okay, that is where the Cocos, the Rockledges, the Heritages, Ticeville's, that's where O'Galley's, that's where they play, right? Then you have the Sunshine State Athletic Association, and that is a league where you have Bayside, Space Coast, Holy Trinity, and Satellite playing that, as do our 2 8-man teams, okay? The Sunshine State, listen, if you look at Bayside, Space Coast, Holy Trinity, not so much Holy Trinity, but Satellite, Space Coast, and Bayside, prior to joining the SSAA, they were programs that, Satellite won 1 game last year, right? Bayside was 1-10, 0 whatever. And Space Coast, I think, had won 4 games in 6 years. The athletic directors and the head coaches for those programs said, we need to reload our programs. We need to retool the way we're doing things. And the SSAA affords teams the ability and opportunity to do that. You can restack your programs. You can build your football programs. And more importantly, you can be ultra competitive. For example, Space Coast won the Sunshine State Athletic Association 1A state championship last year. It's a big deal. Okay. Yeah. Is the SSAA on par with the FHSAA? No, it is not. But it is not to take anything away from these student athletes who work just as hard, who play just as hard. And I will tell you this, probably 10 years ago, Ted Kimmy had Satellite. He turned them into an FHSAA independent, which is like sort of playing in the SSAA. He did that for 2 years, retooled, rebuilt the program, brought it back into the FHSAA district play. 2 years after that, Satellite was competing for a regional championship and a right to go to the Final Four in the FHSAA. This is very beneficial to all of these programs, and it's something that I'm glad is an option. Now, when you look at Holy Trinity, they have been a playoff team for the last 8 years. Holy Trinity made the jump because they never get the numbers year in and year out. They're going up against schools that have far more numbers than they do. And Coach Brown didn't want to get his kids killed. So that's why they made the move. I love both leagues. I think both leagues serve a phenomenal benefit to all of our teams that play in them. And I tell you what, it was a lot of fun last year with Space Coast, watching them go win an SSAA state championship, watching Jake Owens give his kids rings, watching them at the Pro Bowl with Baker Mayfield. It was a great story.
You're absolutely right. Yeah, Coach is a great guy, and good luck to Space Coast coming up this fall and all the teams here on the Space Coast. Okay. There's a headline before I let you go. I have to get your thoughts on this. 40-year-old Joe Flacco, your boy. No, seriously. He was your quarterback for over a decade. Joe Flacco, name the starting quarterback, 40 years old, of the Cleveland Browns. What are your thoughts, Alan?
Great. I hope he's the starting quarterback when they play the Ravens.
Are you being condescending when you say
Of course I am, because listen, the Ravens will eat his lunch. And this just tells you that, Mark, some teams are just going to be some teams themselves. And the Cleveland Browns are one of those organizations. Do you realize that they have had 40 starting quarterbacks since 1990? 40. By the time we get through this year, I promise you, Joe Flacco, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, maybe even Tyrod Taylor will all have probably started for this franchise.
Yeah, because they got Kenny Pickett on the roster, and then Deshaun Watson. I think they're still paying him money.
Well, yeah, I forgot about Kenny Pickett. Yeah, you're right. They brought in Tyrod Taylor last week when Gabriel Pickett went down. 5 guys in the quarterback room. Mark, it's a dumpster fire of an organization, and I love Joe. I mean, I got a Joe Flacco.
Yeah, the jersey. You got one of those now. I see what's up.
Okay, so I got me a Joe. Okay, and I got his jersey, but he's 40 years old. He shouldn't be starting quarterback for anybody.
No, he should not. But remember, 2 years ago, he played really well and they made the playoffs.
Yes.
And then they went back.
That was for 5 games.
Then where was he at? The Colts? I can't.
Yeah. Then he went to the Colts and they didn't do anything. Listen, I wish him well. Again, I just hope he's the starting quarterback when they play the Rangers. By the way, make sure you watch the new Netflix about the Dallas Cowboys. It came out today. I've seen the first 2 episodes. You're going to love it.
What year I got to make sure I get this right. Was it 2018 where Flacco's the starter? Then they go to rookie. Is that right? Then go to rookie.
Flacco drafted in 2008. And then in 2018, Flacco gets hurt. They bring in Lamar Jackson, and Joe Flacco never comes back under center. I think he makes an appearance against the Chargers when the Ravens were getting. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know, but I know actually Jackson played the whole way in that one, and then after that season, he and the Ravens parted ways.
He has, I think, one of the weirdest careers of any NFL player, Joe Flacco, because it keeps going, and you're like, he has these big stats, Super Bowl MVP. But then I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
No,
I don't know what to think.
But I will tell you this much. When you look at some of the things that he's like up in the top of the statistics for, I mean, he had one of the greatest playoff runs in the history of the NFL. I mean, the guy goes on the road. He beats Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, right? Wins the Super Bowl. Throws 14 touchdowns, no interceptions in that playoff run for the Ravens, right? I mean, the Ravens, they could never like win the game that would get them a home field advantage, right? So Flacco is one of those quarterbacks that have a ton of road playoff wins. You know, I mean, he's beaten the Patriots on the road twice in the playoffs. The Steelers, the Colts. I mean, that was Joe Flacco.
And he started multiple AFC championship games.
The guy played in 4 of them.
He played 4 of them, won a Super Bowl. It's fascinating. It's a fascinating career. I just want you to know, you might have to just simmer me down a little. I'm hyped for the Bears after what I saw Sunday night.
Yeah, I figured you might be.
I am. Let me tell you something, Mr. I win Super Bowls around here, and I have Lamar Jackson winning MVPs. My franchise has won 1 playoff game since 2010. And you know what year that was? 2010. That's how bad we've been. 15 years we've made the playoffs twice since there, and one of the games was the double doink where we lost to Philadelphia and Nick Foles. Eagles.
At least you're not the Miami Dolphins.
No, they haven't won since Jay Fiedler in 2002, I believe.
You remember who the head coach was?
Dave Wannstedt?
It was Dave Wannstedt.
Yeah, Dave Wannstedt. I'm very excited, and we are because I'm part of the team. I don't care anymore. We start at home Monday Night Football against Minnesota and JJ McCarthy. The Bears are winning that game. I'm sorry. We have for the first time, and I want to bring this up with you. And this is very important. This is a very important question about the history of football.
Yeah.
You look at Jacksonville. They're building an offense. The Bears, it's all offense. They're getting wide receivers, tight ends, offensive line, offense. I feel like football, especially the NFL level, it's all offense. Can you name for me who's the best middle linebacker in football anymore? Is that even a big deal? Because look, your team had Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
You had Ray Lewis. I had Urlacher. Both those guys are in the Hall of Fame. And you think of like the history of football, great defenses. And, the anchor of it is a middle linebacker.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I on the defensive side of the ball, I think the star position is the edge rusher, outside linebacker. I don't think defense matters as much as they'll say, oh, it wins championships. I don't think it's as big as it used to be. I don't.
We got Roquan Smith. He's pretty good. You're right. The linebacker position isn't what it was. Now it's all about coverage, right? You got to be able to cover and rush the passer. If you can do those two things, all the money goes to the cornerbacks and the edge rushers on the defensive side of the ball. The linebackers don't get the money anymore, and that's all you need to know.
Okay, think of Philadelphia. All right. How did they win? Look at that offense they had. Where you had Jalen Hurts, dual threat, Saquon Barkley, 2,000 yards. A.J. Brown is a Pro Bowler. Devontae Smith is a great receiver, former Heisman Trophy winner. They're loaded on a great, tush-push offensive line. You have to build an offense. Look at your team. All right, let's do this. Your team. Lamar Jackson is a future Hall of Famer. One of the biggest threats in football, scares everyone.
Yep.
Then you have Derrick Henry behind him. You got big wide receivers. You got speed at wide receivers. You have got to have offense, or you can't be Cleveland. You got to have an offense, buddy.
Well, I agree. I do, but I still think you look at that Philadelphia defense last year and how lethal that defense was, and I still think, and I guess maybe I'm old school, but I still think that defense is going to matter. I'd be willing to bet that if you went back and you looked, I'd still say that teams don't win Super Bowls without top 10 defenses. And I go back to that, the AFC Championship game 2 years ago between the Ravens and the Chiefs. And it wasn't the Chiefs offense that won that football game. It was that Chiefs defense that got the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. I just feel like you don't win Super Bowls without great defenses. And we saw that with the Eagles last year. We saw it 2 years ago with the Chiefs. Listen, for all that we say about Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and their wide receiving core, Steve Spagnuolo's put together some hell of a defenses there. He has.
I just feel like, and we can have this debate all season, I think you have to score 25 to 30 points a game now in the NFL. You've got to score.
And like, for example, if you're playing opening night and it's Ravens Bills, 30 or more points is what it's going to take to win that game.
Okay. I like what you brought up with defense. It's the secondary, it's the edge rusher. So let's say you're at the high school level. What positions do you want to play to then go play Division I football, right? And then when you're at Division I football, what positions do you want to play, right?
Well,
go on.
Well, I was going to say, I think in high school, it's more about being able to show your speed, ability, strength, consistency at the high school level. So let's say on defense, let's take Javion Hilson. He was an edge rusher, tons of offers. but I've also seen a kid like a Brandon Brown from O'Galley last year, who's at LSU now. He was a defensive tackle, defensive end, edge type of a guy. CJ Hester at Coco just committed to the University of Florida. He's a DB. So I think those positions still matter, but I think that you can still, if you're an interior lineman and you're big and you're strong and you're fast, then you're still going to get looked at. And listen, I think that when you look at the NFL game today, it is what the college game was 10 years ago. I think the NFL adapted to the college game. I don't think it's been the other way around.
I agree, because you look at Jalen Hurts.
Right.
That's a college level type quarterback, meaning the way he plays.
And once you got rid of some of those old school coaches, like there were coaches in the NFL 5, 10, 15 years ago, they didn't care what type of quarterback you were. You were going to learn their system and play in their offense, right? They weren't changing it for you, okay? And now you've got these younger coaches who you draft a quarterback and you change the whole playbook for the guy. That's the way it is now. So, look at John Harbaugh. Did that for Lamar Jackson. He had Joe Flacco, right? And they draft Lamar Jackson, and the entire offense changed.
His name is Alan Zlotorzynski, Brevard Sports Network. My Bears are making the playoffs. I don't care if it's the 7th seed. We're getting in. And I've told all my Commander friends, I will see you on Monday Night Football for my revenge game against Jane Daniels, who, by the way, looked fantastic. The guy, he looks like an MVP candidate. He does, but I can't wait. And who do you guys? You said you have the Bills on Sunday Night Football. Oh man, that's the way you start
in Buffalo.
Oh man, that's gonna be good. All right, this guy's gonna be on the call tonight for volleyball, which is gonna be awesome. What time's the start tonight, buddy?
Between 7 and 7:30.
Okay, and then 7 o'clock with those starts on Friday night for high school football. It is back. Hey, it's better than June when we're talking Batman, Superman. Alan, thank you for your help and have a great day. All right.
Appreciate you, buddy.